So, Manish, a couple of things which we are talking about the here and the now, right? One thing we've talked about a lot is the concept of the possibility of de-dollarization, this power shifting from the West to the East. Is it just something that is in theory, or do you think it can actually play out? And if it does, what would where would India stand in all of this?
So look, it's a decadal thing. It doesn't play out. It's like who was this? Lenin, who said no, that there are decades where nothing happens, and then weeks where decades happen. So if you go back and as a student of history, you'll see that there were different what you call sovereign currencies of the world. There was a point when the Dutch guilder was the most powerful. There was a point when it was the Spanish. They were the ones financing the expeditions to go west. Then Portugal lucked out. They sent Vasco da Gama this side because they couldn't face the Spanish on that side of the world. Then the British, for some point when they lucked out on India, they became like the reserve currency of the world. And finally, post World War II, it was US dollar. But it's not been natural for only one country to be ruling the world as the only superpower throughout history. There have been multiple powers, right? And largely it was the Europeans, which kind of became like the sovereign or the reserve currencies of the world. Now, the way US has abused its power for the last 50 years, which is really what Trump is trying to overturn. Because what he's trying to do from his perspective of his country is proper. That you can't be running this kind of fiscal deficit, this kind of a current account deficit, financing other people's wars, poking your nose where it shouldn't affect you, and not investing in futuristic technologies, and not wanting to put people in factories. Because you don't make anything, you will not have the technology. You can't outsource everything to China and then say, oh my God, even when COVID hits, I can't even get N95 masks in my own country. Or India is supplying all its generic pharma.
Correct.
Even in that, he had to bend down and say Apple iPhones and Indian pharma is exempt from tariffs, right? Even if he wants to do something to you, he can't in those areas. So it's showing that superpower is no longer the superpower, and the power is shifting clearly. The power has indeed shifted, and China has become incredibly strong, much as I would not like to wish it. The fact is, militarily, they are probably equal to the US. Technologically, they are at par, in some cases ahead of the US. And we are like the third goody boy standing and watching, and I don't want to align here, I don't want to align there. But there are certain things like we spoke about in our interview where we have the unique strength of what I call this consciousness and inwardness. And it's not about grabbing that kshatriyapana, ki uska bhi zameen le lo, uska bhi zameen le lo, empire badhao khali. The world is not about that. 90% of mankind is not like that. And people want to lead their daily life, lead it with dignity, with respect, with good health and nutrition, with good mental wellness, which is what India has got to contribute to the world. And when you go through those troubled times, you realize, how did you and I become spiritual? You went through a trying time, and that drew you to spirituality, right? They say religion is for those who want to go to heaven, and spirituality is for those who have been through hell. So if we say the world is going through hell right now, they will inevitably be drawn to spirituality. And that is the rise of India in a sense of everyone's consciousness. Most people in the world are aware of yoga, Ayurveda, but it's like at the margin, at the fringe. And they think it's something esoteric coming from the East, and someone will put a logo of power yoga on it, or Deepak Chopra will put something on transcendental meditation or something and make it cool
very
for that audience.
Actually.
But it will change. Because like I said, your civilization went down for 1,000 years. It's only just started its turn up. And it's not going to happen for us in 5, 10, 15 years. But it will inevitably happen. Our kids are going to come back to being leaders in technology, not just followers of it, right? So all this is a decadal thing. And this de-dollarization also is going to fragment. It's not going to be one fine day we'll say, I'm not trading in dollar. Why is Mr. Modi already saying we will trade in rupees, in BRICS? It's accepted in UAE today. It's accepted. Maybe in France, you can go and pay at the Louvre in a UPI payment. It'll happen slowly until the point comes. Like I said, this thing happens over decades and you don't notice, and then one day it crumbles. It's heading for that. And all you can do is prepare yourself to be agile and ahead and aware of trends at all times. And from a stock market kind of selfish perspective, you have to be aware and abreast of trends and stay on top of them. And that's what will see us through, because actually as a society, we are the most adaptable. Imagine how many thousands of years we've gone through with cultural diversity, ethnic diversity, educational diversity, technological diversity. This country's been a melting pot. And I would argue the only country of this size comparable to the US, where you had a melting pot and it's happened subconsciously. And even this period, we now have some strife that, is community ko alag karo, usko alag karo, isko theek karo, usko theek karo. It's a period of growing up, which we will also come out of. So I stay very hopeful, optimistic that this land of such deep spirituality has to be destined for better things. And we've gone through, like I call our learning pangs. We've had those experiences and we're coming out stronger from it. So it's happening.
So a lot of us are eternal optimists, right? But if you had to wear your realist hat, do you think India is a story of a missed opportunity? And I'm asking you because...
So far, yes. I mean, by no doubt. Again, it's something I've spoken about a lot. I'll reiterate. I'm not a, blind bull or a blind optimist. I see the great strengths of my country, but I also see where we went wrong. Fundamentally, a country cannot be in control of its destiny if you don't have your own energy source. If someone can turn off the tap, it's not about Russia and Trump today. It's for 50 years. Every time oil price went up, India was jumping up and down. Number one. Number two, we never invested in technology. Like today, we are very proud. Our Akash Tir, if it played out in this Operation Sindoor, if we didn't have it, and if US had put an embargo on S-400, where would we be? So you need that technology. Like I said earlier, you get military, university and industry. That ecosystem never got built, which is happening today. When they said I'm opening up for defense today, we've had experiences where governments engaging with industry and with universities to say how can we work as an ecosystem. Also trying to put a fund together to say let's get youngsters motivated to start creating things. Like it may be small things, but say in drone technology, I think we are better ahead of the rest of the world. So you don't beat ourselves on everything. We won't overnight become technological superpowers. It will happen. Like if you had told me 10 years ago that Tata and Mahindra and all will also be able to build EVs and put them out and get 10% market share, I said, unlikely, right? Someone will do it better than us. But they did it.
Yeah.
It may not be the finest in the world. It may not be exportable today to the developed world. But give them another 5 years, they'll get there. So, har cheez ka, like I said, there's a what I call pregnancy time for everything. And we've entered that pregnancy period. That's all I can say as an optimist.
The reason I ask is because, a lot of us tend to be hype beasts of India purely because we've seen like the markets go, for example, from 800 Sensex to 80,000 Sensex. So we have ridden that wave. But today's generation is feeling very disillusioned because of the lack of jobs, lack of opportunities,
Right.
Cost of living has gone up. It's unaffordable to even buy a 1 BHK today in a metro, right? That is the truth. So what would you want to tell them?
See, if you look back at how we were growing up, you'll think this is paradise, right? Could you have reached from Agra to Vrindavan in less than 2 hours?
Safely.
What did you think of the road?
Yeah.
Right? And safely, with no dacoits on the way. So the thing is, there's a rate of change which is positive. We want it to be faster because our population has compounded faster than our reality. And the expectation of the young population, rightfully so, is compounding at a faster rate than what reality can be provided. But all these small changes which are happening, do you think, for example, our external borders are better managed today than they were? Do you think our internal security, our internal infrastructure is better than it was? Do you think the explosion of knowledge, education, respect for skill sets is higher today than it was? So if your trend lines are right, there's some amount of patience we'll all have to live with. And two, instead of saying, what is the country doing? Like we have done what we can do, I can do only what I can do. So if there is one university there, there's a second one over here. Hopefully there'll be a third one somewhere else. We can be part of the change. It's not like Sarkar, Mai Baap, wohi sab karegi. And that's unfortunately what happened to India with this era of colonialism. Ki everything is expected from the government, but मैं तो फिर भी पान वहीं थूकूंगा. तो कैसे साफ रहेगा वो जगह? We'll come and complain. You see the average usage of a toilet in India. Educated guys who come out from the toilet like, what did this guy just do over here? So basic things like that, unless we fix ourselves, the world is not going to fix itself. So again, I come 100%. Back to the way we started from.
Go inwards.
Go inward. Fix yourself and the world will be a much better place. Like when we went out yesterday, didn't he put the framing right? That don't look, don't criticize. Experience the spiritual Vrindavan rather than the physical Vrindavan.
Correct.
That framing made the whole experience enjoyable. I just want to add, if I may, 6 जो उन्होंने आपको blessing गिनाए, maybe for benefit of viewers, is worth doing. We went to Krishna Balram Mandir. We got our first blessing. Then we went to River Yamuna, did the Yamuna Stotam. We got our second blessing. We went to the Che Goswami Ji's temple, where Mirabai spent a lot of her life. The Damodar Radha Damodar temple. Chautha, Brijvasiyon ki seva. So we had some service to the children over here. Then we went to the Gaushalas and we did Gaushala Puja. And then we planted tulsi trees in the soil of Holy Vrindavan. And you get 6 blessings. Now you can come here and be cynical about what's going on and what are you doing. Or you can be grateful that you got this opportunity to do something which we were not even aware of, frankly, right? You didn't know it, I didn't know it. Because we happen to have come for the university, we have received these blessings. So you're born in this country, you're in a lucky place. Imagine if you were born today in Europe or Japan, your demographic dividend is behind you. You have nothing to look forward to. What business will you make? What income will you make? I have friends today who are CEOs of MNCs and they are commuting 2 hours to work in Tokyo in cramped places. They are living in 1 BHKs. So we don't know how bad the world is. We have only seen ourselves. कि ये खराब है, ये खराब है, ये खराब है. ये सब अच्छा हो रहा है, ये देखो ना.